Jennifer, have there been any, the land that is to the west of the property that's zoned rural residential, has there been any applications filed for subdivisions?
Madam Chair, no, there has not. We've had a lot of recent inquiries about that property, commencing the development, but nothing was actually.
How long has it been since that property has been rezoned? Do you know?
I think it was 2016. That's my recollection is that time frame. 2009. Actually on page 205 of the staff report. Looks like in the draft.
Are you guys ready for testimony from Tamara? Commissioner Van Beek?
I just have one question based on your question about parcel inquiries and designation. So the zoning classification directly west of this is already in RR, CRRR?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to confirm.
Okay, at this time, we would like to accept testimony from Ms. Thompson in support of this request.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tamara Thompson with the Land Group. Do you need my address? Do you need me to go through that?
I think that that would follow the standard. That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, I'm at 462 East Shore Drive in Eagle, Idaho.
Thank you.
Is it possible for me to give a PowerPoint presentation and share my screen, or is it just verbal?
Yes. So is that what we're seeing now? I think Jen's got it.
Madam Chair, I would request that if Tamara does share her screen, we'll mark it as an exhibit.
Okay.
It would be exhibit 24, and if she could also email that to me from my phone.
Did you hear Jennifer?
I did, yes, I can email that to you.
Okay, so that'll be marked as exhibit 24, and then Monica will be...
We'll take Jen off.
Yeah, we'll take Jen off. And then she's allowing you that capability, and you'll have 10 minutes of non-repetitive testimony once we get that started.
Okay. Let's see, share.
Here we go.
And what are you seeing?
We're seeing your Zoom or your WebEx page.
Okay.
Okay. Wonder how I can share a different window. Well, let's try that.
Madam Chair, if Tamara wants to email me the PowerPoint, I can try and present from here as well if she wants to tell me what's within the slide.
How about now?
How about now? Are you seeing a PowerPoint now?
We see a blue screen, like a teal screen. Do you want to?
Okay, well,
Do you want to try sending it to Jen? It might be a large file. PowerPoints normally are huge.
Yeah, I just didn't know if we had that kind of time to.
Well, she's figuring that. It sounds like legal's going to join WebEx. Okay, I'm not sure how to help her.
So go back to your screen sharing options that were showing up a second ago.
Okay.
Okay.
And then go back to share.
When I go to share, I just get
application. Oh, maybe I can do this. Okay, PowerPoint.
There you go.
There.
Okay.
Okay, nice.
All right.
All right,
You'll
thank
say
you for your
You're getting
for your
feedback
patience.
again. So I think that you need to mute your, since you're called, for some reason it's picking up the audio now from your computer. So maybe mute your Zoom session again, or gosh, WebEx, and continue using your call-in.
Okay, where do I mute that?
Actually, I think we're going to try to mute your computer.
I can't mute her as a presenter. Let me try muting her phone and see if that helps.
Okay, now go ahead. Oh, unmute her phone now.
Is this a little better, or should I just mute my phone?
Perfect. Nope, that's much better.
Okay. Okay. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. Okay, are we on the PowerPoint then?
Yes.
Excellent. All right.
We can see your
All right,
presenter notes too.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I shouldn't. I'll just leave it like that then.
Okay.
Okay, this is the Walker rezone, which is the RZ 2020-0010. Jennifer went over a lot of this, so I'll go real quickly. The property is located on the north side of Lewis Lane, approximately 2,000 feet west of the Sky Ranch Road. And existing conditions, it is not being farmed. It is one parcel that is 15.15 acres. We're proposing a rezone from agriculture from A to RR. We previously did propose an R1 due to the lot sizes of 1.29 acres to the west within the Heritage Estate subdivision. But we've revised that to an RR. The property has frontage on Lewis Lane, and as you can see, there is an access easement that goes back and is for the two northern lots. Those are not under the same ownership, nor included in this rezone. No new access points are proposed, and this easement will be maintained long-term. And this just is the subject parcel. This one, somebody has to just ring my doorbell. Apologies. The property to the immediate west and northwest is the Heritage Estates, and that's these green properties here, and those are zoned RR. And that concept plan for Heritage Estates includes 101 lots with a minimum lot size of 1.26. And I just took a picture of this. This sign was out on the property, which gives all the marketing information for that. Again, our previous, so this is not the one, I put a big X here. We originally had 12 parcels on the 15.15 acres. And I highlighted that access easement just so you could see how that is maintained. The current concept plan has a minimum lot size of 2 acres, and the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend that the RR was a more appropriate zone, which is why we revised our application. New septic systems will be required to go through Southwest District Health, and domestic wells will require permitting from IDWR, and those will occur with the subdivision. And that is my presentation, and we respectfully request your approval today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tamara. Commissioner Van Beek?
I have a question based on the information that's been provided on the surrounding, namely the Heritage Estate, and a large portion of this is slated in the future comprehensive plan for development to residential from agricultural. So Was there a specific reason, given the fact that the minimum lot size is 1.29 acres for the heritage estate, that the planning and zoning did not want to see this as an R1?
Commissioner Van Beek, one of the things that's important to note, the heritage estate requirements in the development agreement was that they utilize community water, which allows a smaller lot.
And was that due to surface groundwater issues with the lake, or?
Commissioner Van Beek, that I don't know. I know it was a condition of the development agreement, but I think that was part of the reason why the Planning and Zoning Commission chose to require RR, because individual systems were proposed, and it did match with the properties that border the site on the north, as well as the adjoining property is still undeveloped. There are a mix of zoning districts that they probably compatible, so that about it.
Okay. And then another question, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Van Beek?
I am curious on the distance from this subdivision to what's called Duck Lane there, so that would be going east. What are the average lot sizes? Do you know of that development in there? That's probably close to 30 years old, is that right?
So Commissioner Van Beek, Duck Lane appears to be located in Lakeview Hills Road, which has an average lot size of 2.3 acres.
Okay, and
Madam Chair, referring to as well.
thank you. And, okay, thank you. And given the size and the age of those properties, I have driven out there, and it's just a question, but because they're a larger lot size, and it becomes problematic at some point to take care of those, especially with an aging subdivision where you may have people that have retained that for long periods of time. Do you happen to know, is there call-outs, is there abatement issues or weed issues that you know have been reported in that area?
Commissioner Van Beek, not that I am aware of. I would have to research that. I would like to note, though, that the average lot size of the platted lots within a mile are 3.27 acres.
Okay.
So there are larger lots within proximity that are actually developed.
Okay, thank you.
One second, I'm just reading a couple things really quick.
And Madam Chair,
Commissioner Van Beek?
in the legend on Exhibit 11, there's a notation for scenic byway. That does not appear to be highlighted on here. Is that true?
Madam Chair, that's correct. I do not see that notated on the map.
Thank you.
On the screen.
Thank you. And Madam Chair,
Commissioner Van Beek?
you don't have any kind of hydrogeologic report from this or surrounding that would show groundwater or depth of well, anything like that? Do they have tested on the spot?
Commissioner Van Beek, at this time, no, we don't have that. That could be something that's submitted with the preliminary plat when they start doing the studies for the health department.
Okay.
And then, Ms. Carson, the IDWR did not indicate any concern about, if you look at Exhibit 19 from Mr. Combine, it appears he has some concerns with existing well and water tables. There's no evidence that supports that claim on the record, correct?
Madam Chair, as far as information on the record, that would be correct.
Okay. Okay. And then on the staff report, page 3 of 5, you notated that there was additional agency responses. Upper Deer Flat made comments that are more in line with, not of rezoned land use request. So it would seem appropriate to me to remove that statement from the findings. But it's not in the findings though, correct? In the conclusion, so.
Correct.
Is it possible to notate that, something that the comment, I'm trying to tread lightly, that the comments don't pertain to a rezone land use request? And so they were not considered?
Where are you looking at? I'm sorry.
Page 3 of 5 of the staff report.
Okay, thank you.
Which, also in turn goes to Exhibit 18 that was provided by the fire district.
Okay, thank you. That was the question I also had.
And then, I guess you can think about that. I don't know that we need it. I don't know that we need to do anything with it, honestly.
Madam Chair, it's just in the staff report summary.
Okay.
But it does, tie into criteria H, where we at least in that, typically mention that we notify the fire department.
Okay.
So I don't know, if that's the finding that may come to the decision that we want to
I had actually already reviewed your H, and I think that that is adequate, response. On page 2, just so that the record is correct, the subject under soil and farmland, the subject property contains primarily moderately suited soils, and I would like to delete best and, because I think that was just a carryover, because Exhibit 9 does not show any best suited soil.
Madam Chair, that's correct.
Thank you. Okay, that completes my comments, but Zach Wesley with the Canyon County Prosecuting Attorney's Office has joined us. And thank you for joining us, Mr. Wesley. The question that we had, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can now, thank you. And I think Monica probably filled you in, but just for the record, the question that we have was the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended denial of the R1 zoning district within their conclusions of law and findings of fact. They have findings that support a rural residential zoning district. So my question was, if we approve the rural residential zoning zone change today, do we have to have a second hearing as a substantial or substantive change from the P&Z findings, or is their conclusions of law and findings of fact sufficient enough to not have a substantial change? Did I word that correct? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Material change.
The P&Z recommendation was also in the notice for the board's hearing as required.
Oh, okay. And so the planning and zoning recommendation of denial was in the notice?
Notice for this hearing. Yeah.
Okay.
So my question, Madam Chair, would be if the notice contained an instruction that the board was going to be considering approving this as a rural residential rezone.
It did. So it was the P&Z denied the R1, but we would be considering an RR.
I can read the notice language.
That would be helpful, Tricia.
Okay. So I have it right here.
Okay.
So this is the legal notice that was also published in the paper. So case number RZ 2020-0110 Walker Investment Trust has amended their request and is now requesting a rezone of approximately 15.15 acres from an A agricultural zone to an RR rural residential zone rather than an R1 zone. This is the description that it says, Planning and Zoning Commission recommended denial of the rezone request to R1 on September 3rd, 2020. Their recommendations have been forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners, who will consider the rezone request. Findings of fact conclusions of law and order, and the ordinance for map amendment may also be considered at this hearing.
So, Madam Chair, to answer your question, with that language in the notice, I don't believe a second hearing would be required if the board is going to approve rural residential rezone today.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there any additional questions?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Van Beek?
I want to go back to Exhibit 19. There's a constituent living out definitely close to this, Brad Conway. So one of the references is the intersection at 12th Avenue and Highway 45 and Lakeshore, which that is a pretty busy intersection. I think that's where Legacy Feed and Fuel is located, if I'm not mistaken. But how does that line up with the agency comments? Sometimes we have had discussion that the recommendations either by the Highway District or ITD fall short of really identifying traffic issues that exist for people that are currently living there. So they have to apply for a variance, but they cite no significant traffic impacts in that area. And I'm curious if there's any feedback from the board, our staff, or the applicant.
The feedback that I would give on that is that the public needs to participate more at the Highway District levels on identifying those, because the Highway District would be our expert.
Okay.
And where they've identified that there's no safety concerns and there's no competing factual evidence that's presented, I don't know that we can go outside of that.
And I appreciate that feedback. I just wanted to
Acknowledge.
for the record that there is a concern cited by an applicant, and I appreciate your feedback regarding public input for decisions that directly impact them.
Yeah.
Sometimes when these happen, we're happy to forward his comments directly to the Highway District so they can communicate. Usually the Highway District sends us comments, but they don't see what else comes in,
Right.
that they should probably know about. Okay. I'd be happy to send that on.
And Madam Chair,
I think that's a good practice.
Yeah.
Also. Commissioner Van Beek?
I also believe, if I'm not mistaken, maybe you would know with your economic development experience, but I think that there is a storage unit proposed out in that area off of Highway 95. Is it closed?
45?
Sorry.
Yeah, it's actually under construction.
Okay.
So, at least some phases are under construction.
So there is going to be additional traffic impacts to that area potentially.
The storage units have a very low traffic impact.
Okay.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Van Beek?
can you just clarify in my mind, you raised the question of the fire district agency response. Your ask is that be taken out. Was that, do I?
No. I think staff clarified that it's only a part of the, staff notes, so they're not included in the findings of fact or conclusions of law, so I think it's fine to leave.
Thank you for clarifying. That's great.
Commissioner Van Beek?
Are you ready for a motion to close public testimony?
I am.
I move that we close public testimony.
Second.
There is a motion to close public testimony and a second by Commissioner White. Motion by Commissioner Van Beek. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public testimony is now closed. Based on the staff report, testimony, and exhibits we have received today, does the board have changes it would like to make to the recommended findings of fact or conclusions of law?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Van Beek?
for discussion, I guess just for the board, I heard what our planner said that the Heritage Estate subdivision has a provision for community wellness septic that lets the lot size be at 1.29. I guess I'm just going to ask the question, is there any appetite for the board to consider allowing a smaller lot size in the interest of potentially future development in a rural area? The conceptual design, and I know we've indicated not to look at that, but the conceptual design that was presented with 12 lots on this property as opposed to the design for 6 lots is more creative and potentially helps that future division look better rather than the 6 acres. That's my question.
I personally find that the 2-acre lot size is consistent with the surrounding area, and I think that those lots are needed from an economic development standpoint, and I'm supportive of the rural residential zoning.
Okay. And it was just a question.
And I do think that they could be more creative, but that's not in front of us today, and that site plan might even change in the future when they actually do the preliminary plat. But
okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, at this time, I would consider a motion to accept the findings of fact and conclusions of law as written or modified. Do we need to say modified since we asked for the amendment, the adjustment to the staff report, or are we good? It just does, because the findings, those are solid. So,
I don't think we mentioned the soil type that I can see.
I didn't either. Okay. Then I would accept a motion that, that they are as written.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the findings as written and that in the case number R2020-0001, the board approves the rezone from A, agricultural on 15.15 acres to a rural residential designation, which is a minimum 2-acre lot size.
And just to clarify, you said findings of fact, you also want to include the conclusions of law?
Yes.
And the ordinance. And the ordinance.
Yes, directing amendments.
And the ordinance directing amendments to the map.
And the ordinance directing amendments to the map. Thank you.
Perfect. Second. We have a motion and a second for a very big decision today. And all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. This motion carries. So we will find those findings of fact conclusions of law, and we are all complete. We appreciate your testimony today, Tamara and staff, and thank you for joining us back. And is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Do we have to do that on these? Does that on here?
I think that's on P&Z, so
yeah, we're good.
We don't typically.
Yeah, we are good. So that completes today's hearing. It's 10:44. Thank you. Thank you. So I gotta clean some of this up.
And I just didn't know what we want to take out.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
We'll get rid of that one. There was a few things I can't